In fact, we're joined by Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel, Sharren Haskel. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for giving us your time. Now, Iran has accused Israel of violating the truce in Lebanon 84 times since the Memorandum of Understanding was agreed to between Tehran and US. And then you had these statements coming in from Donald Trump that if attacks continue, Donald Trump, spoke about action to be followed by repercussions. He has also criticized the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, said he should have been more responsible in Lebanon. How do you interpret all of that?
Well, I want you to actually look on the facts. And the facts are that Hezbollah has constantly continued to attack Israel over and over again. Hezbollah is a terrorist army of Iran that does not even listen to the sovereign government of Lebanon. When the government of Lebanon told them to disarm, not to attack Israel, they listened to the puppet master in Tehran and continued to attack Israel. Even yesterday, even 2 days ago, you look on the Hezbollah's website and you see they claimed responsibility for attacking us, Israelis and Israeli forces numerous times. So if you want to tell me that a ceasefire is a one-sided solution where one side, a Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, can continue to attack over and over again our civilians, our cities, and our forces, I'll tell you, well, you are out of your minds. This is not a ceasefire. A ceasefire is not a one-sided agreement.
Right. Donald Trump says that Syria could play a larger role, an important role when it comes to stabilizing Lebanon and also limiting Hezbollah's influence. But what is Israel's view? Does Israel view Syria as a credible country?
Well, unfortunately, no, and it's not whatever Israel thinks about Syria, but you should open your news and report what those Syrian forces are doing in Syria, how they're butchering, abusing and torturing Christians in Damascus, the Alawis in the port of Tartaros, what they've done in Asweda to the Druze, where they butchered, executed, beheaded innocent women and men, how they raped and abducted little girls. Are these the forces that you think can maintain the peace and stability? Do you think these are the forces that the Lebanese people want on their own land? I don't think so. And to be honest, regardless of what they think, I don't think that Israel can afford to replace one terrorist organization with a unstable other one.
Okay, but then, the obvious question is, has Israel conveyed this to Donald Trump? Do they reflect a temporary disagreement over tactics, or is there deeper divergence between Israel and United States when it comes to regional security?
Look, whatever disagreement Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump have, this is not something they're going to pass through the media. Those two leaders are good friends. They have a very good relationship. They speak on a daily basis, sometimes a few times a day. And you know what? I'm absolutely sure that even you have some friends. You talk to them. Sometimes you disagree. Okay. And so that are the kinds of conversation that those two leaders actually have. And we may not agree on everything all the time. And this is okay. President Trump's looking after the American interests, as I expect Prime Minister Netanyahu to look after Israel's interests and to make sure that my people, my family are protected and defended from this fanatical terrorist organization called the IRGC and Hezbollah.
Right. You know that Donald Trump has expressed optimism as far as, this deal, this peace deal and the framework is concerned. But you are saying that this is not a peace deal. This is just a framework for negotiations. What specifically is Israel seeing that makes it far more cautious than Washington about declaring success at this stage?
Look, Look, I think we have great concern. I mean, this agreement is a framework for negotiations about Iran's nuclear military program and nuclear power and enriched uranium and all of those things. We have a huge concern. I think every sensible person in this world should have a concern. I think India should be concerned about it. I mean, if anything, this fanatical IRGC regime have proven during the last few months that even its greatest allies and best defenders, best friends, like Qatar, like Turkey, like Kuwait and Oman and other countries, they've attacked them directly, including airports and hotels and residential, they're civilians. And so, every country should have a serious red flag rising and waving right now, thinking if this is the way of this fanatical regime, if their goal is destruction of Western democracies, of countries, like the UK, Israel, the United States, and others, okay, are you safe? Do you wish for this fanatical regime to have a mass destructive weapons? I mean, this is a huge question, and it shouldn't just concern Israel, it should concern you. And so, our concerns are being expressed also to the American presidents and to the negotiators, and I really hope that this will be addressed.
There's one more question. There's one more question about what Donald Trump has said, and this time he says, without US, there is no Israel. How do you see that statement coming in?
Look, I think both countries are good allies, and I think that Israel's one of the greatest allies is the United States, but also America's greatest ally is Israel. And also President Trump knows that while other leaders, turn their back, Israel was there as a stable and capable partner.
Okay. Now, Donald Trump has repeatedly stated this in terms of Iran. He says that Iran will never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. Yet the reported framework appears to leave critical questions unresolved rather, regarding uranium enrichment, stockpiles, inspections, and sanction reliefs. Does Israel believe that the current framework adequately addresses that nuclear threat, or does it only, put it on the back burner, just merely postpone it?
Look, the important thing to truly understand is that the framework that was built now, is a framework for negotiation. What it truly means, it means that the Strait of Hormuz are going to be opened up, and in return, there are going to be 60 days of negotiations. Now, during these negotiations, all of these concerns about nuclear program and weapons and enriched uranium and ballistic missile program and proxies are going to be discussed. And so I believe that when President Trump identified the weakness and the danger in the agreement that Obama signed on with Iran, he canceled it exactly because of the holes and the dangers that it posed, knowing that Iran does not respect this agreement and has deceived and lied to America, to the international community, and therefore there has to be a very strict frame of supervision, and inspection on anything that they do. Another example is the fact that you cannot trust and give a few years without enriching uranium and only then starting to give it to them, because then they deceive you and they enrich it to levels where they can actually use it for their military program. And, there's many more points like that President Trump was the one to identify how dangerous they are. And, I really hope that now when he looks on those negotiations, he continues to look with eyes wide open, understanding, the Iranian regime and making sure that those boundaries are being kept.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sharren Haskel, Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel, for speaking with us and for taking those questions. With that, we in fact are slipping into a very short break, but we do have a lot more lined up for our viewers on the other side. Of course, the big focus is on the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump.